fool for old Martin and Gibson guitars. I was lucky enough to find a 1940 Gibson L00 in a music store in Lexington, North Carolina. When I asked the guy in the music store if he knew anything about the history of the guitar, he said, well, a lady about your age brought it in. Didn't have a case. She laid it up on the counter, and he said that he was working with another customer, and he looked over and saw that guitar and that older lady, and he thought, there's a story there, you know. So he walked over and figured, once he looked at the guitar and noticed that it needed quite a bit of work, that she had brought it in to have it repaired. And he said, so what would you like for me to do with this guitar? And she said, my father bought that guitar new in 1940 before he went into service, and played music on it his whole life. She said, I've got two grandsons, one 12 and one 14. And the guy, of course, said, well, she's wanting to get it repaired for them. She said, yeah, I know that these two boys are going to want to play their grandfather's guitar. And she said, I'd rather hear somebody drag their fingernails down the blackboard as listen to guitar music. What'll you give me for it? So he bought it for $500. We agreed on a price, and I had some work done to it and got it back in playing condition. Sort of, you know, thought it was a kind of a neat story because it's got that twist at the end. Then one day I was at my computer and I got an email from an address I didn't know, and Joan always told me, you know, don't open emails, you don't know who it is. But it said, my father's old Gibson guitar. So I had to open it. I opened it, and the email simply stated, I understand you have my father's old Gibson guitar. Well, I happen to have had a lot of old Gibson guitars in my time, and so I didn't know which one he might be talking. He left a phone number, and I called the phone number, and I said, I have an email here from you, and you say that I may have your father's old guitar. Can you tell me which old guitar we're talking about? And he said, well, I don't know exactly what kind of old Gibson guitar it is, but you just bought it from a music store in Lexington, North Carolina. And I said, well, I did buy an old Gibson guitar from a lady in Lexington, North Carolina. But I understand that it was her father's guitar. What's going on? He said, well, that was my twin sister. What had happened was this man had bought this guitar as a young man in eastern Kentucky and had played it, loved the Grand Ole Opry, and played Roy Acuff songs and all that. And then about 1950, 51, along in there, he heard Hank Williams the first time, and he completely quit playing any other kind of music. Just played Hank Williams songs, became a Hank Williams clone. And of course that guitar took him out, and he had a little radio show, so he was gone on Saturday mornings, and then Saturday nights he was always playing some little honky-tonk up and down the coal mining country of eastern Kentucky and southwestern Virginia and up into Ohio and West Virginia. And he was gone Friday night and Saturday night, and his wife hated that guitar for what it did, taking her husband out and her with two young children, twins, a boy and a girl, to raise. Well, one Sunday, the boy was about 10, I think, and his sister, and the old feller come in after a weekend of being out with that guitar, and when he got home, his wife met him at the front door and said, somebody's leaving, either me or that guitar. That coming Wednesday, she packed up her stuff and her daughter's stuff, and they moved back to North Carolina to live with her mother. She left the boy there with him. Well, the boy loved his dad's guitar playing and singing, but the old man now had that boy, you know, to take with him. So he would take the boy with him everywhere he went, put him on a bench at the radio station and set him at the end of the bars he would play in, and the bartenders would keep him occupied with RC Colas and Three Musketeer candy bars. The boy grew up, joined the service, traveled all over the world. But every year he would take his 30 days leave and come home and spend that month with his dad, and they would play all the little bars up and down Kentucky and Ohio and around. And the old man sort of cut back on his drinking. He'd drink 1 or 2 beers a night, but the rest of the time, him and that boy would eat 3 Musketeer candy bars on break. Finally, the boy came home from the service one time, and his memory was starting to slip, and the next year it was worse, and by the 3rd year he had to put his dad in a rest home. Alzheimer's was catching up with him, and finally the last time he came home, his dad didn't even know who he was, so the boy brought the guitar out and laid it on the bed, and the old man looked at it and picked it up and sang "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry." And then for about 5 or 10 minutes he knew who that boy was. And every day the boy would drag the guitar out and set it on his dad's lap, and his dad would sing a Hank Williams song, and for a little while his memory would be back and he'd know his son. The last time the boy saw his dad, he was getting ready to leave for Afghanistan. He got on an airplane and took off to Afghanistan, and while he was gone, on the airplane flight, his dad passed away, and they took all his dad's effects from the rest home and sent them to the only address that they had, which was the boy's sister in North Carolina. When she opened the package and saw the guitar, she took it straight to the music store in Lexington, North Carolina, and sold it for $500. Those 2 boys didn't get to play that guitar. I hope they turn out to be rock and roll drummers and torture their grandmother. Anyway, I told the guy, I said, "Look, this is what I've got invested in the guitar. If you can pay me that or any portion of it, I'll be glad to send this guitar to wherever you want me to." He said, "I can't play Yankee Doodle on that guitar." He said, "I've always tried. I can't play nothing." He said, "I always thought if I could just write a song for my dad, that it would be a good thing." He said, "But like I say, I can't do it." He said, "I've been to your website." He said, "I like what you do." He said, "If you'll write a song for my dad, you can keep the guitar." Just when I thought his mind was all but gone, yesterday he sang me an old song. And then he looked at me and said, "Do I know you?" And I smiled and said, "Yeah, Dad, sometimes you do." "Well, I wish you'd known him how he was before. The wire on the windows and the locks on the doors. Back when he used to sing on the radio, take me with him everywhere he'd go. We had a lot of good years and a long goodbye, but I hear angels' wings nearby. Tell me, what am I gonna do here without him? Well, maybe I'll try and write a song about him. There are lots of folks who tell me all the time that he could out-sing Hank back in his prime. So lonesome I could cry when he'd sing that tune. He could bring a tear to the eye of the man in the moon. We had a lot of good years and a long goodbye, but I hear angels' wings nearby. Tell me, what am I gonna do here without him? Well, maybe I'll try and write a song about him. Sometimes he'll ask me, am I dying? then wonder why it is I'm crying. But then he'll clap his hands and begin to cheer when he sees I've brought along 3 musketeers. Well, you know it hurts like hell, but it makes me glad to know that he don't hurt and he ain't sad. Wish we were sitting in some bar sharing a beer, but I guess we'll split this last 3 musketeers. We had a lot of good years and a long goodbye, but I hear angels' wings nearby. Tell me, what am I gonna do here without him? Well, maybe I'll try and write a song about him. Tell me, what am I gonna do here without him? Maybe I'll try and write a song about him.